What if life isn't about learning, but about slowly forgetting? What if you didn't come into this world empty, but already full? Not full of information, but full of awareness you didn't have to question. A kind of clarity that didn't need proof, because it didn't come from outside of you. What if the version of you that knew what mattered, what was real, what actually made sense, was never something you were supposed to become, but something you were quietly drifting away from? Because we've been taught something that feels true, that we're born knowing nothing, and over time, we gain knowledge. But what if what we're calling gaining is just replacing something we never learned how to protect? What if every year that passes isn't building you, but slowly covering you? What if growing up isn't evolution, but a form of amnesia? And the person you're trying so hard to become isn't ahead of you, but a faded memory of who you already were. Let me tell you a story. Benny worked down at the port. Long days, heavy equipment, constant movement. And when he wasn't there, he was in the studio. Music wasn't just something he did, it was something he stayed connected to. People at the port knew it too. Every now and then you'd hear his tracks playing out of his car, or catch him on break with headphones in, locked into something nobody else could hear. He wasn't even supposed to be at work that day. He still had a couple days before his next shift started, but for some reason, he decided to stop by anyway. Nothing serious. He dropped off a few things, spoke to a couple of the guys, then left like it was just a quick stop. He got in his car and headed toward the store, just moving through a regular day, when his phone rang. It was one of the supervisors from the port. "Hey, I heard you came in." "Yeah," Benny said. "I just stopped by real quick. I'm not back on schedule yet." There was a pause. Then, "I need you to come in, right now." Benny frowned a little. "I'm not scheduled for a couple more days," he said. "I was just dropping something off." Another pause. Then the tone changed. "Either you come in now, or you don't come in at all." The line went quiet. Benny slowed the car down and pulled over. He sat there for a second. You could feel that reaction building, the frustration, the urge to match the tone, to say something back and stand on it. His grip tightened on the wheel. "Nah," he muttered. Then something in him shifted. Not loud, not forcing him, just enough to slow everything down. He took a breath, picked the phone back up, and said he was on the way. He turned the car around. By the time he got back to the port, everything had changed. Alarms were going off, people were moving fast, containers were being rerouted. One of the cranes had malfunctioned while lifting a loaded container, and it was stuck hanging over part of the dock. One wrong move, and it could have dropped. They needed everybody. There was no time to think about anything else. They got to work. Hours went by. Heat, pressure, coordination, everybody locked in. Eventually, they got it under control. Later that night, they all went out to eat. Benny ended up sitting across from the same supervisor who had called him earlier. The man leaned forward. "I owe you one," he said. Benny looked at him. "I shouldn't have talked to you like that earlier," he continued. "It was a lot going on. We needed you out there." Benny nodded. "It's all good." They sat there for a minute, then the supervisor looked at him again. "I heard some of your music before," he said. "One of the guys had it playing out there. My son heard it too." Benny raised an eyebrow slightly. "He asked me about you," the man continued. "Wanted to know what your name was." Benny leaned back a little. "Novocaine X," he said. The man nodded. "I told him I'd connect y'all." A few days went by. Then Benny got a call from the supervisor's son. They spoke briefly, and a little while later Benny was pulling up to a studio. Music was already playing when he walked in. The guy turned as soon as Benny stepped in, already smiling. "Man, I'm glad you came," he said, walking toward him. "I've been locked in on your music all day." He gestured toward the speakers. "That sound right there? That's what I've been looking for." Benny nodded, taking it in. The guy kept going, energy building. "I'm serious. I want to help you push this, get it where it need to go. You got something real, and I don't hear that often." Benny stood there listening, really listening. And right there, it hit him. From that moment in his car a few days ago, to making the decision to turn around and go back to the port, to sitting at that table that night, to walking into that studio right now. All of it traced back to that one decision. He gave a slight nod. Aye, let's work. You don't become aligned. You recognize when you already are. Because that sense, that quiet knowing, was never something you had to learn. It was there before you learned how to react, before you learned how to respond, before you learned how to be shaped by everything around you. Life teaches you how to move based on what you see, how to respond based on what you feel, how to adjust based on what's in front of you. But that deeper voice doesn't come from any of that. It shows up first, and the moment you ignore it, you replace alignment with reaction. But the moment you follow it, things start connecting in ways you couldn't force. Not because you figured something out, but because you stayed in agreement with something that was already connected to everything. And that's the shift. Not becoming more aware, but realizing you were never lacking it. This is the quote room, where words wake minds. Some things don't need a reaction, just reflection. Just a few thoughts I had on my mind.